friend Micah came over for the weekend and decided that we wanted to build an end table. So this is just the footage that I shot of us as we were working on the end table. We had to, of course, start with creating a top. So here you can see Micah basically using the router to create a channel, and then in that channel we took and put 1/2-inch strips of plywood to join those two together. We actually used glue once we set that all in there to make sure that it held really, really tight. And these are actually, we had to take a hammer and actually pound those into these pieces of oak. Now these are pieces of reclaimed oak. I found a boutique lumberyard, if you will, here in town in Charlotte. And they sold me all of the oak that you can see that we're using here, and then back there by the scooter for $10. Most of it you can see it's not perfect, it's not the best, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's heavy, it's solid. What they do is anytime that there is a tree in town that somebody takes down that they have a chance to mill, they actually mill different pieces of that oak. Or it could be anything else, it's whatever hardwood is around here, ash. They've got an incredible selection. So I decided that we would make a couple end tables for the living room out of that oak. And you can see that's got some water stains, it's got a little bit of spray paint on it. You can see some of the saw markings on it where it's actually been milled. But all of that stuff I'm going to be able to take out with a sander later on. All of this is just extra lumber that I had laying around from other projects. Earlier I did some built-ins, and I had a bunch of stuff left over for that. So we've got Micah helping me with everything here. I just decided that I would go along behind him and shoot a lot of video of the process. So he's just making all the measurements for what we call the skirt. So underneath the top there's actually a square box called the skirt that is going to give us a point where we can actually join the legs to the table, and where we can join that skirt and then to the table. It helps us a little bit structurally. It also hides some of those points where we're joining that to the table. I had a little bit of difficulty actually getting the screws to take through the legs into the skirt, but we actually got it to work out pretty nicely. We also screwed up some of the measurements here. You can see that Mike is going through and marking everything carefully, and we've got this miter saw that I've got on the bench. This is the first time I actually took out the other table that I've got and used that. I don't know why I've been using everything other than this plastic table that I have laying around in the shop. But it was really nice to have two hands so we could actually get everything done pretty quickly. I'm using a GoPro for all of these shots, so try to get some different angles so that you can actually see what Micah's doing. It gives us a chance to put it in hyperspeed and talk about what's going on here too. Nice thing about the miter saw is a super square cut, so I don't have to worry about anything being accurate when we go to join any of this stuff together. The handheld GoPro gives you a chance to kind of put this up above you and see what it looks like and follow Micah around the shop as he's setting all these things up. You can see this with our little project table where we had our tops and where we're actually going to put a skirt around those. Because the oak isn't exactly sized, the perfect size, the measurement that we chose for the biggest oak top ended up being a little bit large for the other two pieces, but it actually worked out for the other piece that we were working on. I know it seems a little bit silly, but we're wearing ear protection and eye protection, and then there's also like a dust mask. For some reason, any time that I'm using a router, it kicks up enough fine particulate in the air where I get a little bit of stuff in my lungs that I'm to the point where I'm not going to live forever. So going to make sure that we protect ourselves as well as possible. Plus, if everyone's wearing ear protection, it's kind of funny how it works. That you can hear pretty well. So here I am chalk lining a spot on this board. We're actually going to rip this down. See, we've got a nice snap. We're going to actually take that, rip that down with a circular saw. So we've got some lumber that's the same size as the other pieces that we're using for the skirt. I was lucky enough, I just took that and clamped that to that other board with a clamp that I had there. One thing that I do wish that I had that I'm going to add here in a little bit is a circular saw, or not a circular saw, but as a table saw. Just to make some of these rip cuts that would just enhance the accuracy of what we're doing. Cutting things with a circular saw is good for example, rough carpentry, but when you're doing things like cabinets, you're doing end tables, the tolerance for errors is much closer to a 16th or a 32nd. I worked in a cabinet shop one summer, and I was used to working rough cabinetry. And we would put joints together, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's got a 16th." And I'd be like, I can't see a gap here. But you know, it's just a difference in the quality of what you're looking at. I still do a decent job doing these things freehand, but it's freehand, and you can see it's just in a difficult position to make sure that you get a perfect cut. Micah's going to head back over to the miter saw and cut us a couple more skirts so that we've got everything set up. I really only had to rip just a little bit off of it too. So again, Micah's making the same measurements that he was making before, same cuts. You can see how quickly you can do that with a miter saw. Just get in there, chop. Get in there, chop. You know, if we were doing a ton of these, let's say I was building 40 of them, we'd create some sort of assembly process where we cut every single skirt that's at a 15-inch, you know, and cut 100 of them at a time. When I was working in the cabinet shop and we were putting together, you know, literally 100 box drawers, I would cut 100 pieces at a time, and we'd be set up for only one type of piece at a time. Since we're doing everything custom, and you've got to remember that anytime that I build anything in my wood shop, there isn't a plan for it. There isn't there isn't like a guideline that we're going by. It's kind of all just in my head and how I'm thinking about it, and based upon my years of experience and what I want to see the outcome to look like. So it's pretty difficult for somebody to come in and have a list of all of the pieces that they need to put together and build. For example, we're building a pergola this weekend, and that pergola is just a Frankenstein sort of thing, you know, that's just a product of stuff that's in my mind. We're gonna custom build it, and I think it'll look really nice. The finished product will always look very, very nice once we get it all cleaned up and installed. So that's kind of what's going on here. We're getting pretty well set. It would also be really nice if I had 3 different benches, you know, where I had a miter saw, I had a table saw, I had a router box. But again, you got to remember, I'm not doing this very often. This is probably 3 times a year. So here we've got our pieces for our skirt that are set up. This is the largest piece that was on top. You can see that the other 2 are a little bit narrow. The measurements that we did here worked out really, really well. We're just going to take this, we're going to build a box, that's going to go underneath it. We're going to screw 2 tabs, which are going to go to the top, and then it's going to be connected to that by a nail gun. I think for me, the hardest thing when I'm building things is hiding my joints, you know, or hiding what we're connecting them with, so you don't have any exposed screws or anything like that. That's
So
easy.
Micah and I have got this to the point where we've got the top, okay, we've got everything boxed in there. You can see it's got more of a rustic look to it. It's got an unfinished look. We went through and joined that up. You see you've got a joiner right there. You've got a little skirt put in there. I went to the store 2 years ago when I was building the table that we have. I asked the lady if a gallon of stain was going to be enough to stain that thing. She's like, oh, I think that should cover it. I was like, all right, a gallon is enough to stain like your whole deck. So I still have 7/8 of a gallon to use. So we've got one stain option, and that's everything's getting stained that color. So we're working on this. What's the next thing that we're working on here, Mike? And those are going to fit right in here then and be braced back into these corners. Okay, well let's find some buckets. Yep. Everything's fair game. That looks good to me.
So you can see here we've got the box completely finished, and now Micah's just taken what I think is either a 40 or an 80 grit sheet of sandpaper and just doing a little bit of work on the top. It takes a lot of love to really clean up some of this oak, especially with some of those stains that are there on it. It also kind of cleans up some of the joints. I'm still debating whether or not I want to take and put like a polyurethane finish on the top, or whether or not I just want to leave it natural and just give it a little bit of stain. As I mentioned earlier, I have a ton of kind of red oak stain that would look really, really nice. But this is just a long shot of Micah going through and cleaning this all up. I was actually surprised at the density of this oak. Super, super dense. Didn't sand super well. It was kind of interesting that we used pine for all of the other pieces of this project rather than anything other than the top. So we have oak on the top and everything else is pine. And it showed, like when you move that oak around, it's probably 2 to 2.5 times more dense than pine. Pine felt super, super light. So the finished product is actually kind of goofy because it's a little bit top heavy. And I've been thinking about ways that I can, I don't know, change the design. I mean, probably the easiest solution to that would be to mill some of that other oak out to the dimensions that I need. Now the downside with that is the accuracy of our ability to mill things out, since the only thing I've got at the moment is a circular saw, and I would be freehanding everything. So I've been looking into buying a Mark V shop smith. If you don't know what that is, you should go Google that, take a look. It's got a headstock, or basically a giant electrical motor that drives, you know, your cutting blade. You can change it to a sanding blade. You can change it to multiple different things. And that's kind of what's cool about it, is that I think we could use it as a table saw. We could use it as a lathe. I could cut bowls. I could do everything that I want to do. And it's really small, and it's portable. I wouldn't have to have 15 different tools around it. And I think from a quality standpoint, it's one of the highest quality things I've ever seen. Micah sands this all up, and you're going to see the finished product here in a moment. Just a quick shot of this, top to bottom. This is how it appears in the living room right now. I'm super happy with it. It looks great, it's perfect height, and I'm looking forward to making actually 5 more of these for the house. So thanks for watching. Look for more videos to come soon.